Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is K.Short, and welcome to another episode of Connecting the Dots. I'm so excited for this guest that's coming on because, y'all, this one's family at this point. So much so that I am the godmother of one of their children. So, this is not going to be just any interview or any conversation. It's something where we'll get the chance to get to know each other even more and connect even further. And to be completely transparent with you, I don't know if we've ever actually had this conversation in this way. But if not, at least it's getting to be documented for the little ones for them to watch in the future. Hey sis, welcome to the show, episode number 8. So happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here. And, just another family chat for us.
It is going to be a family chat for us. Nope, don't think I'm going to let you get away on that one. Where do you, and only because we talk about this, we talk about human design, we talk about, healing generational trauma, we talk about all of these things. I would love to know, like, what have you gathered so far as to why you were that person in your family and in your community?
Well, I'll say now that I'm really deep diving into the art of human design, it kind of just it led me to a lot of reflection for one, because I'm a 3-5 emotional projector for all those people who are aware what human design is. And the main thing or the main attribute about a projector is that they have a bird's eye view of things. So I'm able to like see a whole picture. I'm able to see the big picture with and being able to like see what the moving parts are. So I think that was a key attribute for myself to be able to, one, be able to be a support to other people, because if I'm able to see the bigger picture, I can better support the person with, being able to know what they're going up against, or knowing, like just like the different aspects.
Because I know for me growing up, I very much was very aware of how hard the adults in my life were working. And so I would gather young people, the children, and be like, hey, we are going to make sure this house is spick and span before your mom gets home so that they can just come home and rest. But maybe just be exactly what you're saying, that you've just felt like you've had to fill in the gaps, growing up. And so that's the same thing that you're doing, with the businesses that you've started too. Would you agree, disagree?
I will say now, though, in the later years, or at least within this last year, I've been learning more about just like boundaries, because, and also this based on like filling my own gaps before I start filling other people's gaps. I think that, starting as a young child with that trajectory of like always consistently pouring into other people's cup, I really got into that habit of just like continuing to like pour. If somebody came up to my table, I was like, oh yeah, you need some water? You need some? And then at the end of the day, I'm like, there's no more water left for me. And it took 30 some years for me to really like hone in on that message that, hey, like it's okay to fill in the gaps, but just make sure that your gaps are, filled in first.
I was a teacher's pet, but they were cautious of when they used me. They kind of used me to make sure to get me to stop talking.
Yeah, I can see
That's
that.
funny. Yeah, I was like, I'm laughing now. They're like, oh, hey, Kathleen, go do this thing so you stop talking to other people. And they just keep me busy. I'm just like, yeah, sure. I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to be useful. But now that I am an educator, I'm just like, I see what was happening now. I see what you were doing, Miss Avila.
So you asked about 18 to 22. I was at University of Maryland. I only went there for 2 years. I did not graduate. I dropped out. And I dropped out. But I feel like I left because I'm the type of person that I'm a really avid like trial and error person. I love like trying new things. I love seeing what works for me. And for the 2 years that I was at University of Maryland, I think I changed my major about 6 times. And I tried so many different, courses, and I was like, none of this is working for me. I don't like this, this environment. It's not something that's conducive. And plus, it was crazy expensive. Being that I came from the household that I came from, we didn't necessarily have, the financial support to, really make it happen. And like, I think my mom like took a second mortgage out on her home just to like send me for my second year. And I was like, I can't continue to let this happen. So I was like, gotta 86 this experience.
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then that led me on my journey of career hopping. I've been in so many different industries. I have never been afraid of just like, going to try, trying to figure out if I belong in an industry. And if I went into it long enough and I'm like, oh, this isn't for me, I have no qualms about leaving it either. So, uh, I probably would have been in at least like maybe 10 to 12 different industries.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And which ones did you like the most and which ones did you like the least?
Honestly, I really liked hospitality. I liked being, I was a server for a long time, and then I was a host for a little while. I worked on a country club, but every time I got the front facing interaction with people or just being able to like really show my personality and help people to like enjoy themselves, that's always been like something that really empowered me.
Yeah, you know what? Same. Same, 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 same. And you know what's really frustrating now that I think about that? It's like that's not what gets paid the big bucks, but that's what we're here for. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like as humans, we're here to connect, to feel warmed, to be welcomed. It's truly what keeps us going. When you think about what's happening in our day to day, the most memorable moments are the ones when we connected with others. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think that's what was so hard to leave the industry for me because I was like, I really enjoy this. I really love people. I really love serving and supporting people, but it just doesn't pay well. And I'm just like, I would continue to do this. I'm fine with this. Like I was a barista for a long time and I'm just like it just makes no sense as to why like the people who are super specialized in solving cancer, I'm just kidding, are super specialized in I don't know, putting two pieces together in a car together. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
Why they get paid the most? It's so like niche, but it's like we're solving the problem of connection and hospitality and warmth. And I say that because even in the
Mm.
Bible, they talk about this radical hospitality. You know what I mean? Of folks who are coming from different countries and different cities, and to and to be
Yeah.
warm and welcoming to them. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I definitely feel like it's a lost art because I feel like even now, like especially since like 2020 and all the C word happened and all that, like I can definitely say the trajectory for customer service and like human connection has been totally lost, and
Right.
it hurts. Like it doesn't make you want to go out to places. Like that's one of
That
my
part.
I feel like we connected on that of like liking to go to like coffee shops, it was like restaurants
Yeah.
and things like that, and find a good space that has good customer service. But it's like 1 out of 10 places I go to where I get good service, and it's like you lose hope. But I think that there are lots of us out there that feel this way, and that there's going to be a wave. There's going to be a transition where the human connection comes back. It's just going to take us, like consistently digging our way out of whatever hole we're in.
Yeah. Yeah, y'all. I just want to be transparent with you. Christina and I connected truly last year, last summer. I don't know how it happened, but we were talking about customer service and just
Yeah.
connection and in that industry, in the customer service industry, and we were like starting something to support people in that, and training people how to do that. But because, we've been doing it for 15 plus years. And so it was a problem and still is a problem that we wanted to solve. And I don't know, it's kind of percolating on me now that I'm kind of a pissed off right now. I'm just like, why is that?
Yeah.
How come I couldn't make a livable wage when I'm, pouring in
Hmm.
so much into people energetically and connection wise, and these people who are putting things together and pressing certain buttons are the ones getting paid the big bucks? It makes no sense to me. I'm gonna have to do some research. So tell us about you coming to Arizona. And when you tell me about you coming to Arizona, what was that decision like? Yeah.
To start it off, what sparked my decision to move to Arizona, I was in Baltimore, and like I was heavily involved in the community. I was working with this organization where, we did a lot of community work, and like I had a good tribe around me, and things were, really working out well. But I think the fact that Baltimore is so small that it got to a point where I was just like, you know what? I've always been a risk taker. I want to try something different. So many people were in my ear saying, "No, don't move. You know what I mean? You have all your family here. You have all the support. Why would you move when you have, everything here?" And I'm like, thought that I was going to be me. And so I remember making a decision. I was like, I want to go somewhere. And I was like, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go, but I knew that I was deciding between Atlanta and Arizona. And I remember a friend of mine was giving like angel card readings. And I was like, let me just go ahead and, talk to her. I didn't really tell her anything. I didn't say, hey, I'm thinking about moving or anything like that. But like, the conversation led to her pulling a card and was like, hey, it looks like you're deciding on a move or you're thinking about moving somewhere. And I was like, damn, okay, this is real, getting real close. And like she went into like this story about like, she was like, yeah, I feel like the angels are telling me that you're trying to move somewhere that starts with the letter A. And I was like, what the flip? I was like, okay, cool. And then like that led her into telling me a story about how she found her spiritual awakening in Arizona, which is where the number one place I was trying to move. And like she goes this whole story about like how it's so healing there and how, she just, was able to like transform her life with that, journey. And so for me, that felt like a huge sign. I was like, I guess that's where I'm going. I'm going to go to Arizona. And I had never been to Arizona before. I had only heard about it. And I knew that the only thing I knew was that it was going to be a lot of sun. And that's something that I was looking forward to because in Baltimore, there's lots of like tall skyscrapers and like it's super cloudy and just, a lot of humidity and all those things. So I felt like, I didn't really do that much research before I moved here. And I had never been here. The only person I knew was my really good friend, Ashley. And she had been telling me since I met her, she was like, come move to Arizona. I was like, what do I move to Arizona for? And, one day I just like, hey, I called her. I was like, guess what? I'm coming there. She was like, no, you're not. And so, yeah, it was pretty interesting for me to, I literally packed up all of my belongings or what would fit into my car. I had $700 in my bank account and I drove across country in 4 days to a state where I did not have a job lined up and I only had enough to like pay rent for 1 month. Yeah, so it was a huge risk. And, I could have flopped on my face, but I did not. So,
First off, rent at $700, wild.
yeah, yeah.
Was there anything that happened during that road trip? I've always wanted to do a road trip cross country. The story sounds nice, but I'm curious of like if anything came up for you. I can only imagine what's like being on the road by yourself with your thoughts.
Yeah.
And if any revelations came.
I would say on the last night, well, it was like the third night I was like driving, I almost turned around because I chose to go the southern route. So like I like went through like Virginia and Atlanta and like, that route. I ended up like stopping to see people like each day, like people that I knew in those states or whatever. But the third and fourth day, I was driving through Texas. Like I said, I didn't do too much research before, making this journey other than like, hey, where is my apartment? Let me just put it in my maps and go.
Wow.
On the third night, I remember driving through Texas and everybody drives like fucking 120 miles per hour, like crazy. And it was like this horrible storm. I literally thought like Noah was coming with Ark with the two animals.
On the third day.
On the third day.
Yeah.
Like, I remember like calling my dad because he used to like drive for a living. So I was like, I don't know what to do because like my car can't handle this. I was like, it's hydroplaning. I need to like pull over. And I remember pulling over and I remember like him telling me just like pull over, turn off your car, and just, wait it out. And, I remember sitting in the car, I got the phone and I just like prayed. I was just like, listen, if I'm meant to get there, I'm meant to get there. And I remember seeing like this huge tidal wave just come over my car from like this 18-wheeler coming past. And it was just like at the timing when it happened, I was like, you know what? I'm already here. I'm gonna keep going. And I feel like I've been scarier things. So I was like, I'm gonna just keep moving.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think that's the cool thing about us getting to know each other and just kind of, again, for me, I'm truly connecting the dots, y'all. I'm just like, wait, I was like, if she can do it, I can do it. Okay. Like that's really the whole point and premise of this show is like for you all to see that if we can do it, you can do it, And I think you even talking about on the third day and getting washed over and things of that sort, like for some reason, what's been really percolating for me in the past 24 hours was like, is the concept of just keep going, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, because it's when it gets hard is when we're really tested, so I'm sure that's the moment that happened on that third day, but there's almost like this there's almost like for me at this point where I think about it, where like there's this faith that I'm just like, what else is gonna happen if I stop? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna start all over again. Like, how many times have I started all over? And I know, that's something that Christina and I have been connecting on, is like how often and willing we've been able to kind of switch things up and try so many different things. And I think a lot of times we felt like, is it us? Like, how come we can't just like choose one? Like
Yeah.
how come we can't just like pick one? And so I'd love for you to like talk more about that and like what you've came up with so far, because in this current world, for a long time they told us and they programmed us to choose one, but we are now, again, like I've shared before, that I feel like we're the generation who's saying screw all that and flipping the table and being like, there's people in the world who are meant to choose one, but there's other people in the world like us who choose many. So what are your
Mhm.
thoughts on that?
Uh, I I do consider myself a certified risk taker. I feel like I've always, naturally been that way. And I feel like you said, our generation is definitely the generation to kind of like fuel the pathway to say, you know what, my life doesn't have to look like what my mom's life looked like, or what my dad's like, look like, or my stepmom's. I mean, excuse me, my stepdad's life looked like. In the sense of like they worked a job until they retire, and then they, you know what I mean, and then they finally live their life. And for me, I think at a young age, I feel like I saw how much my mom went through, how much, you know what I mean, like all of my elders went through to like really make an impact, even though they really weren't making an impact. They were just, on the status quo. Um, and I think for me, taking leaps just kind of help fortify the decision for me to always go after what excites me, um, no matter what other people think, because everybody always has something to say. People always contribute to saying like, oh, well, I don't think that'll work, or I don't think that's a good idea. What if you don't like it? What if, what I mean? What if it doesn't work? I'm just like, well, what if it does? Like, and what's the harm in me trying? And I think that one message I would love to continue to like pursue and push is give it a chance. You know what I mean? If you don't know if something will work until you try it. And for me, it's definitely a resounding message now that I have two young girls that, look up to me every day, and I see so much of myself in them. I do my best to like cultivate, like, do what you want, live the life that you want. If you see a rock and you like, what, that rock excites me, go pick up that rock, engage with that rock, hug the rock, do whatever you want with the rock. Just be the rock, and find out if it's the rock for you. If not, put that rock down. Try another one. Let's say
Yeah.
that horrible analogy, but
No, I love that. It's like beef. No, I mean, like we have Mr. Dwayne Johnson has a whole brand off of The Rock, so we ain't gonna, we talk about horrible analogies. I'm always a fan of a metaphor and analogy. Anyways, don't get me started on Target, y'all. That's like my favorite data collection place. I love market research in Target and collecting data there. It's so interesting and fascinating to me.
yeah.
I want to talk about, yeah, my friend was all like, "You're very risk averse," or whatever that means. And I was like,
Mm,
yes, because I've had no one else to really fall back on. So I want to know
yeah.
about you being so willing to take risks. Like, is that something that's cultivated? Is that something that's developed? Do you think that you had a foundation in a support system? Like, what makes you being so willing to take risks?
Hmm. I won't say that I didn't have a support system, but I don't think I had a support system that led to, me really like having that foundation of like taking a risk. I just think that's just always been me. Um, and I think that it maybe had a lot to do with when I was younger. I definitely kept a lot of my nieces and, well, my nieces, I only have one nephew, but I kept my nieces when they were younger, and I think that as a young preteen, young teen, I was always around children and always having that fresh mindset, that eagerness to like learn or discover things, and I was always like helping to pull that out of them. And I think it's just something that just consistently showed up in my space. And honestly, I don't think that I identified that I was a risk taker until I moved to Arizona. Although, like prior to that, I had like skydived, you know what I mean? Went on so many trips by myself. I lived in Virginia by myself, you know what I mean? It's like so many things that I did, and I wouldn't have called myself a risk taker until like I met somebody here. They're like, you take a lot of risks. And I was like, I don't think I do. But I'm living to risk all day long.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of children, we have to talk about you becoming a mom and how that's been working out for you, and especially again, not working out, but just that experience thus far. Especially we talked about being a generation where we're having to forge a different path that we've never seen before, and so I can only imagine how that shows up when it comes to raising your kids. And so yeah, why don't you share what it's been like becoming a mom, and how does that play into your work now?
Well, I feel like it's just another branch of my certified risk-taking self because um what I grew up around, like I grew up around, going to, when you have a baby you go to the hospital. When you have a baby, you put your baby on formula, but I did the exact opposite. I had both of my children all natural, fell to all, and I nursed them both. I'm still nursing one. So like I feel like the transition into me becoming a mom is always something I've wanted to do, and I feel like I told a lot of my friends prior to meeting Charlie, if I hadn't met him, I would have gone the solo route. I already had like the sperm bank picked out. I'm like, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna flip through some pages and find me a donor. And then I think like 2 weeks later, I met Charlie. So I was like, never mind. But
You found your donor.
having yeah, I found him. I was like, no need to flip through a book. Just flip through his Instagram. um, but yeah, the journey of motherhood, I will say, it rocked me a little bit. Because I feel like growing up, nobody really shared what motherhood was. Nobody really shared what or how motherhood changes you, how it just redefines your entire life from the day that they arrive here. It's completely, it's like inverted. It's like, who am I? And I will be transparent. I suffered through postpartum depression really heavy after Camille was born. And even more transparently speaking, both of my children are rainbow babies. I had a miscarriage prior to both of them. And I shared that because that's not something that was shared with me when I was younger. I didn't hear about miscarriages. I didn't hear about how high of a rate miscarriages can happen and the loss of a child can happen, and then what that does to your body after it's done. And then you go into having a child and you make it to full term. And, it's just a lot of reflection, I feel like, comes with that transition into motherhood. It's like, oh, well, how did my mom handle this? And like, even with postpartum, it's like, how did my mom handle it? How did my grandma handle it? How did, my grandma before that, because I know for a fact there were no resources back then for them, and it's something that's led me to a path of just advocating. Anytime I find out that somebody is trying to have a child or, contemplating becoming a mom, I get real hard up and true, I tell them all the truths I can possibly tell them, because I remember growing up hearing like, oh, once give birth and you put your baby in your arms, you forget about all the pain. I was like, that wasn't how I remembered it. I remember every bit of it. And it's not like I didn't have a connection with my girls when they were born, but I could still feel everything. I was like, I'm exhausted. How do we pick up and just go home and take a baby with us, and survive in this world? But yeah, I would say motherhood definitely changed me for the better. It's definitely the most difficult hood I've ever been in, but also the most rewarding.
Who are you? What has stayed true? What has stayed true to you and consistent through from this younger version of yourself into motherhood? And what has changed from when you were prior to motherhood and now?
So I feel like I've continued to relate myself to a certified risk taker. And I feel like I still take a lot of risks, but I also feel like I don't take a lot of risks. I just think they're more strategic risks now, just because I have two daughters that I want to be here for. I want to be here as long as I can possibly be here. And I think that was one of the major um transitions into motherhood. Was just like, as soon as I became a mom, it was just like I got so emotional because I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna be here with them forever. You know what I mean? There's gonna be a time where I have to leave them, and I was like, I don't know when that time is. And oh, don't emotional, but I just want to, I think what's changed me the most is that I just want to do all that I possibly can to get them as much as I possibly can to make sure that they are reinforced and knowing who they are. nobody can come to them and change that. You know what I mean? They can know that where they came from, they know that they came from greatness, and they know that they are greatness, and they will always be greatness. And um, I just think that it just reinforced my risk taking to soar to higher heights. Like the fact that I quit my job like without having, I mean, I feel like I always quit jobs because I'm like, let's move on. But like that was probably a really huge risk because I had just given birth to True. It was August 2022, and in October I quit my job because I just couldn't handle I couldn't handle the stress of it. Like, having to compromise and say, oh, well, in order to stay home with my sick child, I have to like use sick time, or I have to like not be paid for this time because, I got to make sure that my children are good. And when at that point, when you gave me a choice between my children and a job, it was easy as I ever made. I was like, I'm going to pick my children all day, every day. I can always find a job. But that really, I started my company in 2020, but I really didn't really take that big leap until 2022 when I quit my job. And I was like, I'm looking at my daughters and it's like, something's got to give. Like, I want to feed her with them. I don't want to work a 9 to 5 and only see them at nights and weekends. Like, that's not what I want. So I think that it just gave me the biggest risk taking level up of all time because I was like, I can keep saying I want to start this journey, but they're only going to get older. Like at that point, Kamei was almost 2. And I'm like, how is she 2 years old already? 2 years have already gone by since you were born, and I'm still working at this job.
Because I want to kind of also transition into like why you're choosing to raise them differently. Is that something that's in you? Is it something that you're like, I just didn't want what happened to me to happen to them? But I also say specifically because you had them naturally. You're also vegan. You know what I mean? All these things. I'm curious if health and wellness has always been important to you. Or is it because you had kids? You're like, I just need to change everything that I've been doing. And I say that I that's something I admire about parents and about moms especially, and why I love and why I said yes to wanting to be a part of the tribe, because I was like, look, if I'm going to be a part of the tribe, there's no, you know what I mean? Like, I got to make sure that we're doing things differently around here, not perpetuating old narratives and stories and traumas and chains. So that's why I was like, I commend you and Charlie in general for just wanting to do that in your personal lives and also wanting to do it with your children too. So share with us what shifted for you. Is this something that's always been a part of you, or did it really shift because of motherhood?
I would say it's been a journey of mine for a while. Like I will say maybe when I hit like 24, 25-ish, that's when I really like started doing more research on my own about like health concerns, because I feel like so many people around me, especially like my aunts and my uncles, they all had so many health concerns and so many health issues. And the more research I did, I'm just like, well, the reason why we're having all these health issues is because of the things that we're eating, the things that we're putting inside our bodies. And I think I don't know, it was like some video I saw where it was just like, if you go to the doctors and you're saying, oh, I'm feeling this, or I'm feeling this way, the first thing they ask you is, hey, what's your diet like, what are you eating? You would think that, though, if that's the first question they would ask, that would lead to some more people making changes like that, but they don't. So we're not going to go into that. um, but I will say, with just like the natural lifestyle and just with how we are choosing to raise our children, I think it definitely came from just like our upbringing and how and it like I grew up in a household of like, spare the rod, spare the child. And when I think about that concept, there's this, it's like nothing in my mind will ever get me to the point where I'm going to hit my child. Like it's just not. And I think that's just because that's, what I grew up around. And it's like, as a child, you have so much development to do, so much, what I mean? So much to learn and so much to just embrace from the people that are, caring for you, that I feel like I'm blessed to have met Charlie, because we have a lot of the same morals and the same style of how we want to just coach our children to be independent beings that are balls of light, that show up for people and understand that family isn't necessarily always blood, but family is who you choose to be around, and how they show up. And I think that's something that Charlie and I have cultivated over the years since we've met. We've gone through like different like relationships, different friendships that did work. They didn't, and and then it didn't. But like right now, our core is solid. You know what I mean? Like the people around us are solid. And I think that is one of the things that reinforce the things that we were teaching our children, the things that we were, showing up for. Because like growing up, I didn't have this type of support like you. I think about you, I think about Jules, I think about, you know what I mean? Like some of, like Charlie's other counterparts and whatnot. It's revolutionary where we are because this is not what we grew up in. This is not, even us going to like family functions now, like a lot of things we're doing things different from everybody. Nobody else is like not working a job or not, you know what I mean, taking a risk to say, hey, you know what, I'll be okay without a 9 to 5. I'm just gonna, speak about myself. So I feel like being that Charlie and I are so alike in that space, it gave us the courage to know that, hey, even if everybody is a naysayer around us, we are the yaysayers. We are the ones that are in charge of our children, or in charge of our children's development. And we want them to have the best. We want them to have everything that we didn't have. And we want them to know that, hey, no matter what happens, if you make a mistake, come home. If you know what I mean? If you need our help, come see me. If you do something dangerous and you need me to cover up for you, I'll be that person.
That's on record, true. That's on record, Kamea.
100%. I was like, you just come tell mama. Mama got you.
Goodness, I love that. I love that. Oh, so sweet. It gave me goosebumps knowing that, truly. Because it's hard. I can imagine how difficult it is to be a part of two blood tribes and trying to formulate not only a new one in this physical world, but also, you know what I mean? Like in terms of like, you're the family. You've chosen and taken responsibility and decision that we're going to be the family that's going to change things. And that is, best way I describe it is kind of like going down a hill on a bike with the wind at your back, and then you're trying to be like, oh, we go in the wrong direction. We need a skirt, and like just the inertia and the energy of what it takes to like press the brakes. Like, oh my goodness, I can only imagine how much pushback, very subliminal pushback. I'm so sure of it, and to still know that what y'all are doing is what's best for you and your family. So I think, commending to all y'all. Anyways,
Exactly.
fast forward us, but we are finally at the hour and we need to talk about entrepreneurship.
Oh, we got sidetracked. This is what happens when you talk to your family,
Yeah, but also I'm just like, I ain't mad about
Yeah.
it. Entrepreneurship. Tell us more about this journey. We heard a little bit about how you're like, I don't want to have to choose between my job and my kids. So tell us about the company you started in 2020. I know that you have 3 going on now. And like what made you take the leap? Again, was it because you had kids or you said you started it sooner? Like, yeah, just share with us how it's been so far.
Yeah. So when I guess technically when I started the event, I started like January 1st, 2020. So at that point I was pregnant with Kamea. And she was born like a couple months later. And I feel like at that point I realized like even just going to work while I was pregnant, I was like, this is not it. This is not what I want. I don't want to have to, depend on this one stream of income. And, and then like I think in that time frame there was so many like layoffs happening, and then there was such a lack of security in the space of like the jobs that everybody says, oh, this is, you stay here until you retire and then you go live your life. I feel like at that point I was just really just like focused on taking a risk again, you know what I mean? And saying, hey, you know what? When I really thought about it, like where I was working, I was like, when they tell me the story of how they started the company, like they started on their kitchen table, you know what I mean? And then it amounted to what it is, right now. And in my mind, I'm like, well, why can't I do that? I've been, talking this talk for a long time. And it was like, at that point, it was like, it's time to walk the walk. Like I'm pregnant with my baby. She's going to be here any day. And I want to be able to provide without having to, show up to a 9 to 5 every day. Now I will, like in reflection, I think that there was a standstill when I started my business because, like I told you, when I after I had Kamea, I suffered from postpartum depression and not really knowing how to navigate that. And being that it was COVID, COVID was happening, so I was secluded, and I didn't have like, when I thought about becoming a mom, I thought that I would have, a tribe around me, I would have the support, But being that I was like working from home and I realized like, hey, like I'm working from home, I would take, once I clocked out, I was like, I'll take a couple hours to like work on the business. And I was like, this is something I can do. It was like a slow start, just because like postpartum and just, things happening. And then, so that's when I started Quad. And back then, I didn't necessarily know what it really was because, like, you and I have, and on our journey so far, we've switched so many things so many times. So I can't even think of what Quad started off as. But I really started getting that moving in 2022. And then while I was doing that, I partnered up with Charlie because he started his business the same day as mine, January 1st, 2020. We both like filed our like LLC registration and got it official. So I started supporting him more because I was like, yeah, I can definitely work on my business, but I'm like, his was a little bit more established at that point. He had, had two consistent clients. And so like I poured into supporting him. And then that's when he put me on like the business so that it was official. So that was business number 2. And then business number 3, I just wanted to like start something that I kept hearing like start a boring business. You know what I mean? Like a boring business is, something that has some security. So I launched a cleaning business and it's been, that's been a good work in progress. So like that's a administrative business, a cleaning business, and a multimedia business. And I don't think any of them really have anything to do with each other. But the beautiful part about the 3 businesses is that they all work hand in hand because who does all my graphics? Charlie does. Who, who
Mm-hmm.
cleans our cleaning business does. Who takes care of all our administrative stuff? The co-op, business does. So I think we really just kind of both honed in on the things that we really love to do and reflected on like what skills that we already had. Charlie had, been in the multimedia space for about 5 years or 5 or 6 years. And as, we said in my bio that I've been in the administrative professional world for almost 20 years. So for me, it just like, it naturally worked its way into me becoming a digital business manager. Because like I said, I've always been the type of person to be of service to people. And it's just kind of like tying back in. And, but like becoming a digital business manager has allowed me to kind of take a step back from like the mundane parts of it or like the little tasks or like the lower level work into now like the higher level work where I'm able to like consult people on like, hey, from my experience in this, in this specific industry, I know that this is something that will really push the needle for you. I'm not going to handle the task for you, but I can help hire somebody to help do it. So I'm like in a space where I'm able to, like I told you before, instead of like pouring all of myself into others' cup, now I can just kind of like pour little drips and say, okay, you get a little bit, you get a little bit, here you are, and this is how you can, make more of that water for
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
love that. I know getting to know you a little bit, and this is probably second to last question, but getting to know you a little bit and us getting closer since last summer, I- I've observed the growth in you personally, and professionally. I'm curious of like of the things that came up for you. I think this is a big thing when it comes to entrepreneurship. What I'm observing is that all the insecurities, the doubts, the fears come up. You know what I mean? And so the stories, the old beliefs, the things of that sort. Like, what have you put together so far in terms of having to overcome those kinds of challenges? And like, why do you think those challenges come up? And like, how have you overcame them? And uh, yeah, what are you doing to overcome them?
That's such a great question. Well, I feel like that's a work in progress. I will say that my huge, my number one motivator is my family, because like the things that, Charlie and I dream of, we want to be able to like, live a life where we're not constantly being called in different directions or, called in the directions of things that we don't resonate with. I think the resounding message is what I was speaking on before about this, like really chasing or just following after things that excite us. If we, really if we start, if we get invited into doing some project and like we've done a really good job of like, okay, here's the opportunity, let's sit on it for a moment, let's think about it, like how does this fit in with our life, how can we make this work? And then if we like identify and we like sit there, we're just like, hey, I don't really think this is exciting. This isn't something that, I think would be fun for us. I think this would cause more stress for our family. So I think we've gravitated to having conversations, or at least more, I guess, deeper conversations about like, hey, normally I think in the past, if we saw an opportunity, it was like, oh, that's money, let's take it, you know? But I think in this transition of us, like from starting the business to like where we are now, we've learned the art of discernment and understanding that, hey, you know, not all money is, you know, good money. It's, you know, the experiences that we want. We want to be able to like work on passionate projects, you know, projects that like really move us on the inside. And if it doesn't create that excitement, if it doesn't create that life, then we politely say, hey, no, thank you. We can refer you to somebody else that we know that, you know, can help you out.
I'd say when it comes to your girls, the little
Mm-hmm.
ones,
Yeah.
what would you what is it that you're trying to do differently with them that you didn't get when you were younger, and how does that play into you helping other mothers? I know that that's what the agency is for. I actually want you to elaborate more so on that business, because for me, in my observation, that one seems like the one that you're most passionate about and seems like it hits more to the core.
Um, I'll say one of the most pivotal things that I feel like I'm giving to my girls that I didn't have was a listening ear. Because I grew up in that era of like, you know, you're a child, stay in a child's place, you know, what opinions do you have? You know, you don't know anything, you know. I constantly challenge myself to like, if I'm like super busy, like if I'm in the kitchen like cooking, or if I'm working on a project and I like Kamea or True is like consistently coming back every couple minutes to like say something, and I can easily tell like, hey, I think they really want some engagement, you know what I mean? I put whatever it is that I'm doing down, or I take a beat and I stop. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Tell me what's happening. You know, what can I do for you to help, you know, help ease your mind or whatever it is happening with you. So that's definitely something I feel like growing up, where in, you know, in my childhood, I didn't have like a voice. I didn't have a say in like most things that happen. But with Command True, you know, they can decide like, hey, are we gonna go to the library today, or are we gonna go to the play place? You know, are we gonna take an early nap, or are we gonna take a late nap? You know what I mean? Like we give them choices, we give them options, and we give them a say. And um I feel like as a mompreneur, that's one of the, I think, the paths of least resistance, because so much, and I feel like growing up, we saw how hard our parents worked, you know, and they didn't have time to stop listening to us, you know, that they were working, you know, my mom was working always like one or two jobs at a time, and also going to school and trying to like better herself and get a, you know, higher paying degree, but she didn't have time to stop and be like, you know, what do you want to do today? Or, you know, how are you feeling about, you know, your day at school? Um, so I feel like that's something that in my journey with the Quad agency and me wanting to support other mompreneurs, that's the main message that I want to put out is like, at the end of the day, the preneur part doesn't matter. The mom part matters. You know what I mean? Like when you put your love into what you've created and what you brought into this world, that's, you know, everything will come full circle after that point. You know, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like even recently, just like in the last month or two, I've definitely honed in on more of just like stopping, sitting still, and just saying, okay, where am I at? You know what I mean? Like, how pressing is this task I'm doing? How pressing is it that I finish these dishes in the next 20 minutes? You know, can I take a couple breaks to talk to them?
So, to wrap it up, what would you like to say to Kamea and True? But then also more importantly, what would you like to say to little Christina too?
That to all the three young girls, I love you. Your dreams matter. And don't listen to anybody else but yourself, you know, and challenge whatever comes your way, you know, and if it doesn't seem like something that's your, you know, that fits your needs, then challenge it, ask questions, you know what I mean? Don't be afraid to go against the status quo. Um, all of your ideas are valuable, and you can literally do anything that you want. All you gotta do is believe it, and you can achieve it.
Love that. Well, y'all, that's why that's why I decided to become a part of this tribe, because I was like, y'all, everyone else, y'all wilding out here. And of course, choose the one that is wanting to do the work, the deep work, and that reversal from going downhill. It's not easy, and so I'm just so grateful so grateful and honored to be a part of it. And I look forward to, of course, you visiting. I look forward to the girls coming to visit, and I get to relieve y'all of your duties for a summer or so, unless they get on my dang nerves. I'm sending them back. Go back home.
No,
I'm
you,
just
you can't
kidding.
send them back. You can't send them back till we ready.
Just a little context, y'all. They're two little fire babies. We got little Aries babies and little Leo baby, and I'm a little fire baby. It's like it's gonna be hot summers, hot summers.
Other than that, I mean, I'm just so grateful to have been on Connecting the Dots because I feel like, this has been a long time coming, and I'm so grateful to be in your tribe and to be able to spread the love and the messages of just, perseverance and just going for things that excite you. So remember, always, always, always follow the excitement and leave all the other stuff in the dust.
All right, y'all. As you can see, I'm very intentional about who I bring on the show. I'm not just interviewing to interview. I'm not just getting followers to get followers. I was thinking about it this morning. I was just like, we need more role models. And I say that because I remember making a video back in the day where the title was No Role Models. This morning I was like, no, we need more role models. And again, realizing that role models doesn't have, titles necessarily. And I think that's something that we're getting a little we're kind of tripping up on nowadays. When we bring on entrepreneurs, I'm like, I need to create something that isn't already being, like, not that it's not already being done, it's being done, but I was like, I want to capture the stories of how they came to be. Like, yes, people do that, but what I'm having to learn about myself is like tapping into my zone of genius and being guided by my curiosity. And as someone who's an educator, online and offline, I just can't help but be curious about the little people that we used to be and how do we continue to honor those little people that we used to be. And I say that, having Christina on the show and having True, my goddaughter, and her sister Kamea, like, I think about them often. I think about us often. And so I'm just like, how can they see themselves in us, and how can I find these people that they can look up to? You know what I mean? A lot of times, as you can hear in some of these stories, that our parents are probably not the best examples of who to look up to, but I would love for you to come here and know that, hey, like, I see some patterns here from this guest that K.Short had on, or I see that we had a similar background, or I've had similar challenges, or whatever the case may be. So that's why it's so important for me to show you all that it's not all rainbows and butterflies, and that when we connect the dots, when we get the chance to look back and connect the dots and see how we got to where we are today, like, it's such a beautiful process, even may be difficult, but it's, again, what I'm noticing is just like who we used to be and the problems that we had and the challenges that we had. We find ourselves solving them as we become older, and knowing that we have that choice to do that now. Like, if you're watching this right now, y'all, like, just recognizing how privileged we are, the fact that you're watching this on a device, that you have the free time to watch the last hour or so of this conversation, and just realizing that you're not the only one out there, and that you don't have to do it alone. So I have every intent, of course, is to continue to curate this community for y'all, so that you can see yourself in this space, in this place, and know that you can do anything that you set your mind to, as long as we don't give up, as long as we keep on going. So other than that, y'all, I look forward to you to continue to be here. And just again, wanted to say thank you so much for watching this. I know that you could be anywhere else in the world right now. You could be spending your time with anybody else in the corner of the universe, but you're here, and I just never want to take that for granted. So thank you so much for watching. And I just look forward to growing and going through this journey called life with you. All right, y'all. Talk to you soon. Bye.